So the first thing you want to do after doing your sketches is get your image and scan it in at 600 dpi, or just take a photo with your phone and have that JPEG ready. And what you're going to do is just drag this JPEG into your Illustrator file, and it should load up there as you can see there. I'm just going to delete that because I've already got mine here. And what we're going to do with this is going to try and center it out in your middle of your artboard, to make it easy. And I'm just moving that around. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a clipping mask so I can cut off this excess stuff. But you can see how I did some different sketches first and did some iterations, and then I came up to this design here to get the type looking the way I wanted it. And it's good to use guides. You can see how I've used guides there when I sketched, so you can have a symmetrical type design. And I'm going to press M for the rectangle tool, drag this out, and I'm just going to change the color so you can see, and then select the image and the shape and press Command or Control 7. Once you do that, it's going to make a clipping mask as you can see here, and I'm just going to use the direct selection tool to select these points and edit that clipping mask and drag them in just to make it more cleaner, so we have our type there. And what I'm going to do is go to my layers panel. You can go to Window and Layers to open that up, and I'm going to double click on the layer. You'll get a box that pops up, and we can just rename it Sketch. You can just rename it there, and we want to tick the box template, and then you can choose how much you want the opacity to go down. I just usually do 40%, and I want to press OK. And now what it does is lock the layer automatically, and now we can actually trace over it, and it's good to be dim in the background, so we can just see the lines there. Now go to your layers panel on the right hand side, and I'm going to press this little button here. That's going to create a new layer. Call this guides. So we're going to have our guides on that layer, and to get our guides we're going to press Control or Command R. You can also go to View, you can also go to Guides here, and you can hide or lock guides as well. Also you want to make sure you got Smart Guides all on by pressing Control Command U. That really helps out too. And you'll get these sliders on the left and on the top, and you can see you can just drag from it and drag those rulers out. So I'm going to start dragging some rulers just so we can use that. So we know where the center is, and then you can use these align tools up here to directly get the center going. And you can also hold Alt and Shift to copy it and keep it 90 degrees. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm trying to get the center points and creating these guides. You can also make guides from shapes. So I'm going to press L for the ellipse tool, hold Alt, and I'm just going to drag out because I want to get this curved line. And you can see that, and then I'm just going to hold Alt and drag this out a bit. And I'm just going to drag this. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we can fix it up later. But you can see we have this shape now. And I'm going to select it. You can go to View, Guides, and Make Guides. So now we have a guide for this curve bit section here, and we can use that for the type. And don't worry about if the sketch is not directly in line with the guides, because it's just using it as a place to work from, and we can always edit it and create it the way we want. So we've got those guides up, and now we're going to start creating our shapes. So we're going to make a new layer. So we'll keep guides on its own layer, so you can turn off the eyeballs if you don't want to see it, just like that. I might turn off the sketch layer, and I'm just going to move the type a little bit to left, and that's pretty cool. So just move that back in, and we'll lock guides, and then the next layer we'll call build, because we're going to build out our shapes. So we're going to use the pen tool, and first up, make sure you select a bright color. You can see in my color palette I have a pink color, and we're going to press P for the pen tool and select that pink color, and I'm going to usually work with 2 stroke points. So go up the top here and you can select your strokes, and what I'm going to do is start making out these shapes one by one. So you can see you've got our lines and our shapes, and what I do is click, and that will create an anchor point, and then you can click anywhere else to create that stroke. And I'm going to hold Shift, and Shift will make it 90 degrees or 45 degrees. So I'm going to hold Shift, select that, and then click. And then what you do is you want to hold Shift and try and keep the anchor points horizontal or vertical. So you can see what I'm doing here, holding Shift and clicking and dragging, and it's making that curve. make sure your fill is off. So you can turn the fill off by pressing forward stroke. And you can see how you get these nice curves when you do that. So you want to try and do this all the way around. And if you don't want this handle point, you can actually click again, left click on that corner, and it'll get rid of that. So you can see I'm going through here and just holding shift and clicking and dragging, trying to make these curves as good as possible. And you can always edit these handles as well, which will edit the stroke. So you can hold Alt or Option if you're on a Mac, and you can hold Shift or move that in. And what's it doing? It's decreasing the length of this handle on this point, and you're giving it more power to this other point. So I can drag this one out as well. So you're not stressing too much on one anchor point. So try and get the anchor points and the handles to share the weight, because then the curve will be a little bit off. So I'm just going through here and trying to use as many not so many anchor points as needed. Try and use as least as you can. So you can see I'm just working my way through, and then just showing that out. You can use the direct selection tool by pressing A and select points, and you can actually just select that point and move it across by using the arrow keys to move it as well. So you can see we've already got one shape. I can select it, press Shift X to see how it's looking, and we can actually go back in here and tweak any parts we don't want or don't like. So you can see this curve here is looking a bit off. So I can actually move this anchor point up by selecting it, and then maybe press P for the pen tool, and maybe I want to move this handle in to make it less curvy, or maybe I want to make it thinner and I want to move this in. So you really have a lot of freedom, and you can always play around with it as well, just to make it look as good as possible and try and keep those curves smooth. You can see here it's looking a bit off. Sometimes it doesn't have to be fully 90 degrees, but you can see how I'm just, changing the angles here to make it look better there. And I'm just going through editing these handles. And another cool trick as well is if you want to round it off, you can select this anchor point and drag this circle in, and it's going to curve that. But keep in mind when you do that, it's going to make an extra anchor point. So now we got one here and one here, but you can see the curve is really nice now. So just keep in mind when you're working with that type or those anchor points. And then we're just going to make these next parts. It's easier if the parts are separated, because then you can go back and edit it the way you want. So I can come through here. I'm just holding Shift, and then I'm just left clicking. And for this bottom section, I'm going to drag and try and get a nice curve there. Then click on that point and click, and then hold Shift because I want to have this pretty straight. Then click here and click here. So it doesn't matter if it overlaps, because we're going to have it as a fill, as you can see. So it's kind of looking nice. It's taking shape, and you want to try and keep the weight consistent. You see how this part is a bit thicker and this part is a bit thinner. So what we can do is use a direct selection tool, click and drag, and you can select an area, and we can actually just press down and edit those. And you can see this is a bit off, so we can just actually extend this out to here. So we have that whole piece. And then I try and want to keep these points straight, so I'm going to drag this in. You can see I've got the smart guides turned on, and I'm pretty much aligning all these points here. So I'll click and drag, select those, and if you go to the top, click on Align to Key Anchor, and we can click this button, and you can see how it just moved. You see this, it will move to this anchor points here. So it'll align everything to the left. So now we know this is straight. Then we can just edit that. And if it looks a bit funny, or the weight, we can always just edit those. So that's looking pretty sweet. And we can always come back, select the points we want to edit, and edit those. And now I'm going to go to the U, and we'll continue to do this through the whole way through when creating all these letters and shapes. The key is to just take your time, don't rush. because you want to make it look good as good as possible. Dragging there. And you can see because the type's on an angle, I'm trying to make the bottom look like it's on an angle. So I'll click that. And you know, it's always good to zoom in and use the guides as a support system to help you out there. And what I usually do, I select it and just select the fill. So I just press Shift X just to quickly check how it's looking, and then I can go back and see what the problems are. So you can see this is too long. So I'll bring this in and extend this because it's not thick enough. And just align this again using the same thing. Select the points you want, key anchor, then you can actually align it to the left, or you can go top or bottom. You can see how it lined up there. And then I'll go in here and just edit it. Put it down on an angle a little bit. So aligning is very good because you'll make it consistent and symmetrical. So you can see here that this needs to move like that. So it's already looking a bit better just by editing it. And I always zoom out to check, you know, where it's looking, how it's looking. So cool, we've got those letters happening. And we can always go back and edit it if we see some things that are off. And I'll bump the stroke there, and then I'll just work on this. So you want to make sure with curves that you're doing as least anchor points as you can to get those nice smooth curves, as you can see. This inside circle, you don't have to be perfect, but and we can just scale this down as well, just to get the size you want. And you can see I'm just testing it. And I like to I'll have these rounded off. As you can see that's rounded off. I'll also do it for this side too. So you select the anchor point. Then you see the little circle. If you're in CC, you can see this little circle. If not, you can edit the corners up from here. As you can see there. But I'll just round this off. And I'll just keep tweaking these lines until they look smooth. Just compromise if you have to. So you can see how we're adding these points, those handles. And what else I like to do as well, you can see how it's pointy here. Maybe I don't want that pointy. Go to window and we can go to stroke, and then we can click these little round cap and then the middle bit, and that will round it off. So you can see now it's rounded, which is pretty sweet, and I like having that. So you can see we've made some progress here. And it's looking... Keep it a bit like that. Actually, we'll keep it straight. I'm just going to Control Z that. And yeah, that looks pretty fine. So we're just going to move on and create the rest. You can also press M for the rectangle tool. And you can see how the L is just pretty much a rectangle or a square. So we can just use that to an advantage and just use shapes instead of using the pen tool when we don't need it. And then you just go here, press A for the direct select tool, which is the white mouse. And then go in here and edit these individual pieces or points. You can also press V for the selection tool and then go into isolation mode. So now I'm in isolation mode. I can go in here and it makes you just isolate that one shape or stroke out, and then I can go in and edit it because sometimes there's too many things around. And then you can see you've got that. And I'll drag this. Sweet, so it's starting to piece this together. And I'm going to copy this shape over here because I want to keep it consistent. We'll check these letters, select them all, press Shift X, and then you can even close the guides as well by pressing Control or Command semicolon, or go to View and you can go Guides and you can go Show Guides or turn them off. So you can see there, we'll go through and now I'll do some tweaking. You can see there's some inconsistencies with the weight, so we'll go in there and fix that up. So I'll select it all, press Shift X again, and then we'll just bump up the stroke again, just like that. And we'll select it all. We'll also go to our stroke and go round join, so we'll round that off. So all the corners are rounded now. And what we'll do, we'll just move some of these, space out some of these letters. Try and keep it all in line at the top there, which is the cap height. And we'll just move this, fix the spacing or the kerning to make it even. So I'm just going through here and selecting the pieces one by one. And you can see here, when you're doing these letters, it's okay if it's a round letter. So if it's like an O, or you can see the B or the U, it's alright to go over the line, because then it will naturally look too squished if it's up like on the line. It will look too off. So that's fine. So now what I'll do is I'll press M and I'll go find a nice width from the letters, change the color. I might do a green, and then we're going to shift to the stroke. And then what I'll do is I'll copy this all the way across to make sure it's consistent. So you can see here the weights are a bit different, so we can actually try and copy this. So we'll bring these points and we'll drag them across like that, just so we can get the same weight. Make sure the stroke is the same so you can tell the difference. So I'll fix that up. Then I'll go through and use the direct selection tool. Edit these points just to make it more in sync and consistent, so then it will look better. I'm just holding Alt and Shift, copying them across. With the B, it can be a little bit tricky, because it's got a lot of curves. You can see it's a bit thinner down here, so we can actually edit this. I'm going to rotate this by going in the corner, holding Shift, and drag that out. And we'll see if it's roughly the same size. So just go to the bottom here. Yeah, it's looking the same. So this part is very important. It's good that you make sure that your type is symmetrical and it works well. So we'll just fix that one, and then it's a bit crooked, so I'll use this. Sweet, so we've done all that, and we'll just go ahead and delete these boxes now. You also want to make sure up the top here, forgot to do that, and it's the same as well. It doesn't have to be all the same thickness, but make sure that it's all aligned. So you can see, I'm just gonna make sure the stroke's the same. You can see how the E here, it's a bit, so we can make that smaller there, or we can actually just leave it like that, but we'll make sure that this is all straight. And then we'll make that go up. So that's all even. So if there needs any spacing done, just go back and edit it. So that's looking cool. Turn the guards off and just have a look. It's looking pretty even. And you can see here that because these pieces are together, you want to make sure it overlaps a bit. So we can go back and edit. So what we're going to do is going to add these little spikes now on the corners and sides of our type. We're going to go to our shape tools on the left here, right click, and you'll see you'll get the star tool. I'm going to grab that and click and drag, and then press the down arrow key and you'll make a triangle, as you can see here. And then we're going to just make it just like that, and you can see here we'll just, doesn't have to be perfect, but we're just going to make it a bit more fat. You see you get these points here, just delete those and then press Control J or Command J and it'll join it. Now it's just 3 anchor points. And we might make it a bit thicker. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So that's fine. You can also scale it down as well. Maybe it's a bit too spiky. Just like that. So I'll go ahead, just copying this across, and placing it like that. And try and make it align and consistent. If there's spacing issues, then try and just make them go more inwards. So this adds a bit of dimension to the type. It makes it look more vintage, and it gives some flavor to it. So you can see that we've got those spikes as well. And if you want to add a bit of an angle, you can actually go to shear. So click this little button here. It's like a scale tool. Click on shear, and if you click and drag, you'll see it will shear the shape. So if you want to make it go on a little bit of an angle, we can do that, or you can just leave it straight. It's up to you really. So we've got those little spikes, and now what we're going to do is start adding effects.